Today's Cowboys coaching rumors is presented by the Fetch Rewards app. You can get a free 3,000 bonus points when you use promo code Cowboys at chatsports.com/fetch. The Fetch Rewards app scans your receipts, gives you points you could then turn into gift cards. It's a pretty good deal there. We'll tell you more about them later on in today's show. But as mentioned, the coaching rumors are the focus of today's show, and you know we're going to begin with one Sean Payton. Could he come to the Cowboys finally at long last? The constant rumor, could it come true? I'm going to give it 1 star today. I think that there is a chance. I don't want to build you up with false hope. Here's the update this morning from NFL Network and Ian Rapoport. The report from Ian is that Sean Payton has not committed yet to returning to the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know there's a lot of different information out there about how many years Payton has left on his deal. Rapoport said 3. That does track to me. I've seen 1. I've seen through 2026. The 3 years would be the 5-year extension he signed back in 2019 when he had 2 years left on his deal. They keep the 2 years, add the new 5, which just override the original 2, so it was really a 3-year extension, a 5-new-year deal in total. Now, Payton would, hypothetically, draw plenty of interest from TV networks and, of course, other teams. And you know the Cowboys are certainly one of those teams. The Payton and the Cowboys rumors have never died, and they probably never will until, if and it ever happens, Payton becomes the Cowboys head coach. Now, this new report, which we actually kind of mentioned previously, if you watched our Tuesday video with Jane Slater, we talked about Sean Payton. This comes on the heels of the Friday Jerry Jones interview with 105 The Fan, in which Jerry refused to comment on Mike McCarthy and his future. He left that door at least somewhat open, and we know that Jerry loves Sean Payton. They tried to get him in the past, and I could see them trying to do it again. So let's look at some of the pros and cons then of adding the current Saints head coach. Payton is widely viewed as one of the top NFL head coaches, and given your play calling and scheme issues this year, in theory, Sean Payton would be able to fix those, although you would have assumed Mike McCarthy would have been calling the plays. Not the case. I think Payton also has the credibility to push back against the Joneses with whatever desires they might want to implement. Not that different from the beginning, at least, of the Bill Parcells era. The cons, meanwhile, is a trade would likely be needed. You could not just magically sign Sean Payton. The Saints could play hardball and say, oh, you want to go to Dallas? F you. You're not allowed out of your contract. That's all important there. There are also, by the way, some similar Mike McCarthy type of issues in the sense that there's some clock management woes, there are some penalty woes, there are some similar problems there that Payton has had, like so many coaches do. I also will always mention this. Too much power could always be a problem because I don't want Taysom Hill anywhere near my team, or Taysom Hill 2.0. So what is the % chance that Dallas ends up hiring Sean Payton this year? I still think it's low, but I want to hear from you guys. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So you get the ad break here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I still think it's low. I think the odds of hiring Sean Payton this year are not overly high. I think that is a chance. I'm telling you there's a chance, Lloyd Christmas style, but I don't think it's a high chance. And even this might not be this year. You saw the dimension of Ian Rapoport of this potential, or we'll get to it in a second here, this potential outcome of, hey, what if Sean retires for a year and then comes back Bruce Arians style? Here's what Rapoport said. It would be highly unlikely for Payton to coach another team in 2022. Rather, this would be a mini retirement to recharge for a year after a season several people close to him described as incredibly challenging and difficult. In this scenario, the Payton era likely would be over in New Orleans. If he returned to coaching, it is expected to be with another organization. Now, a decision for Payton has to come at some point in the near future for the Saints and any other team or network involved, at least in terms of coaching or not, because they would have to fill out a new staff or update their staff in the end. So because of that, I'm not going to rule it out altogether. In fact, I'll mention this potential outcome, for example. What if you gave Mike McCarthy one more year, doesn't work out, you try to lure Sean Payton out of retirement? I do think, though, in the end, Jerry Jones's non-commitment to Mike McCarthy is informed, at least in part, by the uncertainty around Sean Payton. We'll talk more coaching stuff, but first, a word from our sponsor. Fetch Rewards is an app that allows you to scan your receipts that you can then redeem for gift cards for your favorite places, Amazon, Starbucks, your favorite restaurants as well. It's super easy to use, by the way. Let me show you guys. All you got to do, pull up the app, pull up whatever receipts you guys got, whether it's for Amazon online, whether it's for your restaurants, your local mom and pop, favorite coffee or grocery store. Hit the button, go ahead and shop, pull it up. It'll just look at your receipt. It'll need your store, your total, your date. Get the whole thing in there, grab it. It'll grab all the information you need, hit submit, and then as it finishes up, boom, it'll upload your receipts and get you guys points for whatever you spent on. 7-Eleven, it works. Papa John's, whether you're eating out, eating in, or shopping, it's got you guys covered for whatever. And then head on down and you can redeem it for gift cards, Amazon, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, CVS. If you got a girl, Ulta Beauty. My wife loves that. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but it is what it is in the end. It's very simple, guys. We're going to hook you up with 3,000 bonus points as well. Chatsports.com/fetch. Use promo code Cowboys to get yourself the 3,000 bonus points. I'll put the link in the comments and the description. By the way, it's free to use. Chatsports.com/fetch. Promo code Cowboys. All right, so we talked about Sean Payton. Let's go now to Mike Zimmer. Could he become the Dallas Cowboys' next defensive coordinator? I'm going to give this one 2 stars. I think that this is a very real possibility, and if you do get Sean Payton, I think there's a good chance Zimmer becomes your DC. Zimmer, as I'm sure you guys know, was fired as the Vikings head coach after this year, and of course he worked for the Cowboys from 1994 to 2006, a very long and pretty successful run overall as part of the Cowboys organization. Now, Zimmer has long had great defenses, but things did end pretty poorly in Minnesota. What I do know is this. Of the external candidates, we'll talk about Joe Whitt and maybe even George Evans in a little bit. The Cowboys have long loved Zimmer. They've always liked him. In fact, had the Vikings fired Mike Zimmer after the 2019 season, I think he would have been a very real head coach option instead of hiring Mike McCarthy. I think that was a very strong possibility for Dallas in the end. Zimmer stays, the Cowboys hire Mike McCarthy, and now Zimmer's out there as a defensive coordinator candidate. So let's break down some pros and cons here. Consistently good defenses. That's been clear over many, many years. Worked with Cowboys in the past, and the fired head coach defense coordinator worked pretty well for Dan Quinn. Now, Quinn overhauled his scheme in 1 year. He made some changes. And with the terrible ending to Zimmer's time in Minnesota and having a bit of an outdated offensive philosophy or desire to the style of running the offense, I have to mention this. Has the modern game begun to pass him by? That is a red flag for me. That's something you have to vet. And I'll mention this too. Zimmer's consistently given his son promotions, Adam Zimmer, who I don't think is that great. And nepotism always bothers me. In the end, regardless, yeah, his son was co-DC, was Zimmer's defense in the end. So would you hire Mike Zimmer as the defensive coordinator? Type in a Y for yes, you would, N for no, you would not. Let me know what you guys have to say in the comments section. Even with my concerns, Zimmer is high on my list. I have not finalized my top 5, top 10. We will do that in the event Dan Quinn does end up leaving. The very first question I'm going to ask Mike Zimmer in my interview process is, Mike, we've got this great kid. His name is Micah Parsons. How would you utilize him? And if Zimmer doesn't say, I think there are 2 valid options. Just like Dan Quinn did, pure pass rusher. If he doesn't say one of those 2, I don't want him. Got to utilize Micah pass rusher. If his answer is, like Anthony Barr, I'm out. Don't want him. He's not going to utilize perhaps your most important defensive piece long-term properly. Now, including Zimmer, some other names I have interest in. Brian Flores, excuse me, I misspelled that up there. Brian Flores, Vic Fangio, Joe Whitt, and then Don Martindale, also intriguing. Now, we broke down most of those names, no Martindale because he wasn't fired, back when we first did the Dan Quinn replacements list. In the event Quinn does get a head coaching job somewhere, which seems kind of likely, we will do a new one. So subscribe if you haven't already for more Cowboys videos all off-season long. Let's go now to Joe Whitt, as promised. Could he end up leaving? 2 stars on this one. It is possible. A lot of this comes down to what the Cowboys decide to do. The Seahawks and Ravens have requested interviews with Joe Whitt for their defensive coordinator jobs. Now, Whitt has been a long-time passing game coordinator. He actually has spent, by the way, more time under a Mike McCarthy staff than with Dan Quinn, although he was with Quinn the past 2 seasons. Long career in Green Bay. I think Whitt is a prime internal candidate, and frankly, I would have no issues if he was just promoted into the D.C. role after a proper coaching search. So what do you think? Who do you want as the Cowboys defensive coordinator if Dan Quinn ends up leaving? Let me know in the comments. Now, over his career, Whitt has spent the past 4 years as a passing game coordinator in 4 different spots. Browns, Packers, not in that order, the Falcons, and then with the Cowboys, of course, in 2021, and then a long time with Mike McCarthy as the team's cornerbacks coach. I do think continuity could help here. This Cowboys defense worked last year. That is a big deal as far as I am concerned. Keeping the continuity, similar scheme and verbiage as opposed to changing it for, the 3rd time in as many years, 4th time? I think that matters for the Cowboys. So Whitt, unquestionably, is one of my top candidates, but it depends on, I think it's some of what Dallas does at head coach and what Dan Quinn ends up doing this offseason.